Yeah, people underestimate 180 kilometres. You have to have done a lot of good quality endurance rides, and I don't mean in a pack riding for 6 hours where your pressure on the pedals might be 50% of your FTP. You want to replicate and gradually build, because we know that between 70 and 75% of your FTP is what the age groupers will ride at. So if you're spending a lot of time in a bunch where you might be averaging 60%, it's not replicating what's going to happen in the race. So the endurance factor in bike riding for the Ironman is a key component. Of course, we need some intensity, and that's what we'll talk about later with running and riding, the comparison. But definitely the intensity on the bike is far more easily achieved than it is in running, and you need to do some intensity, but not in your endurance rides. You want to use that for pressure on the pedals, similar to the race intensity that you're going to have on race day, which is between 70 and 75% of your threshold.
So where do you see this popping up with people? Because when you describe it like that and you say you need to be able to have the fitness to ride 180k on race day, how often should you be riding that in training?
And it goes back to our initial question, how much time have you got? So if we have 12 months, that would be great to have a build-up of 4 to 6 to 7 hour ride each month. That would be really advantageous. I would say you would need lots of strength work. So I would be telling people to go to some undulations all the time. Stay away from the flats. But then you would look at the course profile of your race. Is it a pancake flat race? Well, even if it is a pancake flat race, you're better off having lots of strength in your legs to finish off the race in the last 40k of 180k. When you get to 140k mark, that's when people either ride strong home or they fade. And that's directly related to the amount of endurance strength training they've done in their preparation. So it's a long-winded answer, but the fitter you are on the bike, the more you can sustain the same tempo throughout the whole 180k rather than fade. And, execution of your power numbers is another topic, which we'll spend time on another day. But really getting yourself fit enough and getting yourself into some hills to give you some strength, staying away from pack riding. You don't ride a triathlon Ironman in a pack. So don't do that in training. And that gives you a false sense of security when you've ridden 6 hours in a bunch. And as we said at the start of this point, you don't get the pressure on the pedals because there's so many periods where, if you're on the front of that bunch, awesome, because you're hitting the wind, you're getting everything. Everybody else is getting 30% drafting effect behind you. You don't want to be one of those people in the bunch getting the drafting effect. Sure, you're getting time on the bike, but it's not pressure on the pedals, which is improving your fitness.
Yeah. So you talk about pressure on the pedals a lot. What does that exactly mean?
Yeah, the great example is if you're indoor training compared to outdoor training. People get off their indoor bike after 2 hours going, oh, my legs, compared to 2 hours outside. What's the difference? Well, outside you've got no flat road basically in the world. There are deviations in the road, whether they're 1 metre drops or half a metre rises. There's release and pressure on the pedals as you go over highs and lows of the road. So you're getting all these micro fractures of rests as the bike dips down a metre drop. Whereas on the ergo, if you don't pedal, nothing happens. So you have to have constant pressure. So that's why pedaling indoors on an ergo is such a good fitness tool to use. If you can sustain that maybe outside into a headwind or up a climb where you can keep the pressure even against the hill or against the downhill, and that's a real art, is understanding how to keep the pressure on the pedals outside. And that's where we use the lap power button a lot in our training to make sure that people can look down and focus and see my lap should be 180 watts. And I look down and it's 160 because we're going downhill. Well, that's your signal to go, I need to put more pressure on the pedals to get it back up to 180, even though it's a downhill section. Whereas on the ergo, the pressure on the pedals is I look down, I'm holding 180. If I hold 90 cadence, it's 180. If I hold 90 cadence, it's 180. That keeps repeating itself. So the pressure on the pedals, I think that is the difference between outdoor and indoor.
Yeah, and we often see that a lot with you when you're riding in a group. You get over a crest and down a hill and you'll put 20 or 30 metres in everyone, and people are going, what are you doing pushing away? And you're saying, I'm just going the same pace.
Yes, yeah, and it's like cruise control in a car. If you're driving beside a car who doesn't have cruise control and you've just got it set on 100 kilometres an hour, and the car will still go over the crest of a hill at 100 k's an hour, but the natural reaction of a person driving manually in a car is as they get over the top of the hill, they release the pressure on their accelerator. It's the same thing. So the car's showing an even speed, but the guy beside him is looking at the guy going, why do you keep going forwards and backwards on me? And it's just holding constant pressure.